rapid pace out here early in the second. Levert, hey, knocks it down. Rondo's on the run. Stops, hits Love. Love fires. Cavs reset with a fresh 14. Under 3 to go in the half. Garland works on Holiday. Draws it for a moment. Shovels to Mobley. Garland, step back three, drew a foul, knocks it down.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening live, episode number 33 of the All Things Cleveland Cavaliers podcast. We have a special guest today, which I'm going to let Joey introduce, but let me go and introduce you, Joey Schneider.
What's going on, Brandon? Man, I'm going to do my best to get through this. Little sick. Been fighting a bit of a respiratory infection. But today we have a very special guest, my other partner in crime. We have something very special coming up for you guys here real soon in the form of a brand new podcast. The one and only Joe Ewell.
How you guys doing?
We're doing pretty good.
Doing fantastic.
It's a pleasure to be here.
It ceases to amaze me on a week-to-week basis how, Brandon, when the Cavs went out, me and you were like, how are we going to fill these episodes with things to talk about? And it just seems like every week the Cavs just keep giving us gifts of things to talk about. So, let's start it off with, I think, the biggest news of the week, and that is the Cavs hiring Luke Walton as an assistant coach.
Yeah, obviously, Luke Walton, former player in the league for a long time with the Lakers, I believe a couple other teams as well. Just finished his stint up as the head coach of the Sacramento Kings. Of course, he was the head coach with the Lakers there for a little bit as well. I think he brings good experience. Obviously being a head coach in two different places, maybe he didn't work out at best at either place, but arguably you can make the case he didn't have the greatest team around him either. So I also think, being around, a team with guys like in his playing days, guys like a Kobe Bryant, Paul Gasol, Trevor Ariza, these veteran-like players, and his veteran-like instinct he can bring to a young Cleveland Cavaliers basketball team.
Don't forget, he also played for the Cavs as well, I believe, during the LeBron era. So
yeah, I did actually forget about that. I saw our owner and operator Kevin Sledge posted the other day, and I was like, he did.
It was short, but yeah, he had a little stint there with LBJ before he became coach. But I think it's a good fit. He's got head coaching experience, he's got playing experience, and I think he can learn a lot from JB. I think JB's gonna take a lot of his insight as well, things he's seen around the league, and it's only going to be better for the Cavs as a whole. So, I think it's a great signing, and hopefully this will give the Cavs, another player on the, another player coach kind of on the bench to relate to and learn from. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I think obviously, 10 years in the NBA is, such a privilege, and he has that, Cleveland background as well, playing for the Cavs for 2 years, and the other 8 being with the Lakers. But I think it's huge with the position that he played in. He played a 3-4 area when he was a player, and for what the Cavs have and what the Cavs do need, that younger type of coach and that younger background where he hasn't been out of the league it's been 10 years since he's been out of the league, so it's not like it's been a crazy amount of time. He played next to arguably some of the greatest players of all time between Kobe and LeBron, and so I think that those moments, and I believe he played with Shaq as well in LA at the beginning, because he started his year in 2003, so I think he got a little bit of a preview with Shaq possibly. But I think that's huge for the Cavs, with having Mobley. I think that'll be really, maybe that could be his little project there, as well as whoever the Cavs decide to draft with 14, because, we all know they're looking for a wing player. And I think that that'll be a huge stepping stone for the Cavs, having that background to where JB can just kind of focus on what he does in managing, and bringing in Walton can really help the developmental aspect of the Cavs.
Yeah, and just based off of that, though, and now moving on here, We all have the All Things Cavs or a Cavs logo in our background virtually if you're watching on our YouTube channel. But the Cavs just dropped a new logo today. And it is now officially pretty much all gold instead of the gold looking a little bit like yellow. I'm going to be honest here. I like it. It's not, it's not too much of a change from the old logo. I personally am not that much of a logo guy myself. I don't really get too caught up and wrapped up into these things. But I think it is really nice for this team. And I always think of a logo change as kind of a fresh reset of a brand. We obviously know the Cavs have been going through, some tough times the last couple of seasons, but now with this season, now that they are on the up and up and we are expecting them to be a playoff team and potentially a perennial championship team here in the next couple of seasons, I think it is the perfect time for it, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think the logo looks great, but I think the more interesting thing, and I don't know if this has been confirmed, but I know a lot of people have said it, is I think they're dropping the navy. I think they're actually going all black. So it's going to be black, white, and gold. And, if they, if they march down 24 karat gold uniforms, I think that would be pretty awesome, but I don't think it's practical or you can really play in it. But, they're getting rid of the mustard yellow and going back to actual gold. So I like that. I like the new logo. It kind of is a mix of old and new. So that's cool. I mean, I do, kind of like logos a little bit. I still think we should switch with the Canton Charge. I like their logo a lot. You've talked about that. But no, I think kind of combining a bunch of different eras into this new era that we're going into definitely suits the team. And, is it newsworthy? Sure. We're, like you said, they're rebranding because we have a team now that we think can compete, in the playoffs, year after year. And we want to give them something that's theirs, something that people can remember them by. We look at that, the C that, like that cursive C that we've kind of been accustomed to. And we kind of associate that with LeBron and those championship, in that championship year and those playoff years. So to give this new squad, who we have such high hopes for, the kind of their own era of their own logo for their own era, I think is pretty cool. And I like it. So I'm all for it.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you, Brandon. I'm not too much of a logo guy. I mean, I've always, just, I'm going to support them either way. I mean, I guess the only thing that I, kind of say is I'm not too happy about them going away from the blue if they do. I've always been kind of a fan of having that blue with it. I wish they would keep that around with the black alternatives. But I've always liked how they've had the navy blue with it, kind of in the LeBron era. But I do agree with Joey on how, it seems like they're trying to give this, this young core on the team their own identity. So if that's what you have to do to get rid of, people thinking about LeBron so much associated with the Cavs, then that's what you have to do.
Yeah, I think again, I grew up in the mid 2000s. And so still to this day, my favorite Cavs jersey of all time is the jerseys that they wore in game 5 of the 2007 when LeBron scored the 21-25 against Detroit, those kind of dark navy blue jerseys. My opinion, those are one of the best jerseys, not only of Cavs history, but I think in all of the NBA and in sports. And so I don't think they never really had a jersey can close that, at least in my opinion. You could definitely argue the black jerseys they wore in 2016 to win the title, but those are more kind of special short sleeve jerseys. They've had a few Christmas Day, a few alternate, but really for the most part, outside of really the 90s, the Cavs really haven't had that kind of orange or that, white blue type. It's kind of been that navy or the gold or the wine. So we'll see if they change anything on that front.
Yeah.
What would you guys think about a gold jersey?
I've liked them when they've had them in the past. And I think that the gold in the past have been more like gold and wine, but I would like to see just mostly all gold with maybe some white lettering.
Usually when they go with the gold, it's like it's that yellow.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if they go like a gold
Full
jersey
gold, yeah.
with like wine lettering with some white outline, I think that look pretty cool.
I mean, they used to do that with LeBron, I think, back in the day. Like they used to have a full gold, like those mesh Nike jerseys that they used to wear before Adidas took the contracts over for the NBA.
Were they gold though, or were they bright yellow?
No, I think they were gold. And then when Adidas bought it over and Kyrie came into Cleveland eventually, that's when they had those yellow ones with the checkered sleeve marks on the sides and everything. And it said like all for one on the collar. And then after Kyrie left and everything, they, that's pretty much when they went Nike again. And then like LeBron was there for, I think, the one Nike year, where the first year that the NBA was Nike with the Goodyear patch and everything. And they brought the black into it because they wore those black jerseys when they won the championship that year. You
mean the ones that LeBron had to cut the sleeves on because he hated them?
I thought they were sweet, but I definitely can understand, like if a basketball player doesn't want to play with the sleeves on, especially because like you're obviously not just going to want to play in like a t-shirt, because that's going to be like too bad. You're going to want something that's somewhat tight to your body. And like, I can understand like if you're like kind of shooting up, like how it's irritating all the time that like that tightness is on your shoulder the whole time. And some people wear compression sleeves, but some people like the separation from like here up to here where the sleeveless jerseys would go. They like that. They like that room, that mobility that it gives their shoulder. And I think it might have just pissed him off, or he would just. What's that?
Kind of from like their bicep to the top of their shoulder. They were they wear the compression sleeve, like kind of up to their bicep, and then they don't like the sleeves on it, and then when it's cut off, it goes to the top of their shoulder. So yeah, I get what you're saying.
I could see that being an issue with LeBron, but because he has like trunk trees for arms and everything.
He does. I mean, LeBron is still just I still don't believe he's a real human at this point. But moving on a little bit, the NBA draft is coming up here real soon, coming up real fast. Look out for a new article from myself and Joe here real shortly. It'll be our version 2 lottery mock draft. We got some changes in the top 14. A new player that we think the Cavs are going to take. We might talk about it right now. I'm not sure. Maybe we'll save it for a little surprise. But lot of good players in this draft, guys. I Brandon, me and you have talked about this. Joe, obviously, me and you have talked about this for hours. I just think that there's so many guys in this draft that can be special in this league for a lot of years to come. Joe, I know you've said that there's a few guys you like for the Cavs, and I'm kind of with you on that because I don't think there's just positions that they don't need. So obviously that there's not a particular player, there's not a player that you would take there, unless someone kind of crazy fell to you in that position. But I still think that there are. I still think so. I think one of the players we like is going to fall to the Cavs at 14, and I think that there's no reason the Cavaliers shouldn't take him. But kind of going down that lane, you know what? We're going to just kind of spoil it here because we got a lot of draft coverage coming up over the next few weeks. Our first draft, we had AJ Griffin fall into the Cavs in our mock. And we don't think AJ Griffin's fallen anymore. We got him going 7 to the Portland Trailblazers. But we do have Johnny Davis falling 14 to the Cavs. And as of 2 days ago, CBS Sports put out their newest mock draft, and they also had Davis falling to the Cavs at 14. What do you think about that?
I think it's. I'm high on Johnny Davis. I thought he was the best. I thought he was a top 3 basketball player in college basketball last year. The guy's just an elite scorer. He has so much room to grow. He put Wisconsin on his back. all season long, and you saw the difference when I think it was a hamstring injury is what he was out with at the end of the season before March Madness during the Big Ten tournament. And you saw how hurt that Wisconsin team was. And, even when they were in tight games, you saw that they didn't really have that guy to look to. And that to me, looking at it, that shows one, that Johnny Davis, he's just a heck of a player. The guy he's a dude. He just goes out there and plays. And it also shows a leadership aspect because, in those tight games, you're always looking to somebody. And if, those Badgers, they were in a tight game and they're trying to figure something out, I want, the Cleveland has leaders, now, but you can never have too many for people who enjoy the spotlight sometimes. And Johnny Davis loves the spotlight. I mean, he wants that ball in his hand, but he's also the type of guy who'd be willing to pass it over to Garland for a game-winning shot. Who'd be willing to, give it down in the post to Mobley or Allen for a shot or whatever it may be. He's a very unselfish player, but he knows that he has the potential and the ability to hit those shots when they're needed from him. On my big board, I still have him sitting 5. I think at the end of the day, he's going to be, the 4th or 5th best player to come out of this draft. So the Cavs getting him at 14 is huge.
Yeah, so I love Johnny Davis, and I think me and you are kind of on the same page. We have a good idea of who and who won't be there at 14. I think I think that they can get someone, but I think the two guys me and you are both looking at, and I know is Agbaji from Kansas. Yep. and Johnny Davis. So the thing I love about Johnny Davis is this: he's not the best 3-point shooter. He only shoots about 31%, which isn't terrible, but you're shooting guard, you want to shoot about 40%. But he not only did he average almost 20 points a game, he averaged over 8 rebounds at the shooting guard position in Wisconsin. I mean, think about that. That's insane. That's basically that's like if you're playing shooting guard in 2K and you're just going up and getting rebounds just to, to get the stats. I mean, right. You don't see shooting guards, grabbing 8 boards. And that just shows his tenacity on both the defensive side and the offensive side of the ball, getting those offensive boards as well. So he's definitely a team player. He can create his own shot. He's got a ridiculous mid-range game. He gets fouled a lot. He can get to the rim. He can finish with both hands. Johnny Davis is there at 14, and that's why, when we put these mocks together, we're not looking at the best player. We're taking the team, the best player that's on the board still, but also, how that player fits with the team, how that player fits with the coach. We're kind of looking at everything that a team would probably look for when they're, actually going and about to select a player. So, we just happen to have Johnny Davis fall to the Cavs at 14. I think he would be a perfect fit. Apparently CBS stole that idea from us. And, come draft night, we'll see what happens. We got a few more mock drafts to go, and keep an eye out for that on BelieveInMediaLLC.com. But Brandon, what's going on now? What's next?
Let's talk some NBA Finals.
Oof.
We've got a hell of a series between Golden State and Boston. And in honor of the NBA Finals, I'm going to do something for the first time ever during a Believe in Media YouTube version of this podcast that I have not told you, that I have not told Joe. I have a surprise for the both of you. Quick backstory on what I'm about to show you guys. About 5-6 years ago, when the Cavs faced Golden State, it probably was about the 2016 NBA Finals. I had a friend who was really good at Photoshop. And so, my mom, she used to watch Aisha Curry, which was Stephen Curry's wife, cooking show. And she made a dish called chicken curry. Well, my family likes to give people nicknames, so we started nicknaming Steph Curry Chicken Curry. So I had my one buddy come up and make me a photo that I have not shared with a lot of people, a photo that has been in my inbox for 6 years, and it is now on your screen.
Does that mean that?
It's awesome.
Does that mean you're taking the Celtics in the finals?
That is in honor of the man. The Cavs came back down 3-1 in the NBA Finals to beat. Thank you. No, that does not mean I am taking the Boston Celtics. I am taking Golden State. I believe there's going to be a 6-game series. I like Boston. Obviously, I have said I thought that after they beat Milwaukee, they were the best team in the East. Joey, you did not have to punch me in the face. You almost did, because Boston almost blew Game 7 against the Heat, but they were able to hang on. I just think championship experience from Golden State, and I just think that they are more, I guess, deep. They're not necessarily more talented, because I think Tatum, Brown, they could cancel out potentially Curry and Clay. But I think Golden State just has a lot of guys. They have more wing players, I believe, that can score the ball. And again, they have that championship experience. And I think that they are on a mission to prove to the league that basically the 5 years that they made the NBA Finals, 3 of those years being with Kevin Durant, was not a fluke, that they are back. They had to take a couple years off. And I think Golden State is going to be the NBA champion in 6 games.
So I'm going to give you my prediction because I want to hear Joe's last. Brandon, I don't disagree with anything you're saying. I think that the Warriors are probably going to win. But I'm going to listen to my heart on this and not my head and say the Boston Celtics are going to beat the Golden State Warriors. And here is why. I think Marcus Smart is going to be attached to Steph Curry's hip, one of the best defenders in the league, going to be absolutely all over Steph Curry all series. I think Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Robert Williams, Al Horford, Grant Williams, I think that they have just as many players that can match up with Golden State, and a lot of them, I think, it's a very well matched up. I mean, you got, I don't know if Otto Porter is still going to be out, but Wiggins, Draymond. I mean, that like this is one of the most even. It really could come down to Steph's shooting. I mean, that really might be where it comes down to, Steph and Clay shooting. But man, there's something about this Celtics team that it feels a little more old school, smash you in the mouth. I think Tatum and Brown, they could just, either one of them could take over a game when they're both on. It's blowouts. If you can turn to Marcus Smart. I mean, they have just guys. They still have guys coming off the bench that are having big games. I something inside of me saying keep rolling with the Celtics. I thought the Heat, was good. I thought the Heat may have taken it, but this Celtics team is extremely tough, and I'm gonna have to say the Boston Celtics.
What's your prediction in terms of games?
Celtics in 7.
Celtics in 7. All right, Joe, go ahead.
So I got 2 things for you guys that I made out before this, but I'm a big listener of the Herd. If you guys listen to the Mic Drop podcast, I talk about Colin Cowherd. I think he's, I don't know if he's wise all the time, but he says some interesting things. And he made a top 10 lineup for the players in the NBA Finals. So I made mine. So 10, I have Al Horford. 9, Robert Williams. 8, Marcus Smart. 7, Wiggins. 6, Draymond. 5, Jordan Poole. 4, Jaylen Brown. 3, Klay Thompson. Tatum 2, and Steph 1. And then, and the reason I do this is, like a big shocker. Like, all right, for example, Colin Cowherd had Jordan Poole at 8. I think Jordan Poole is a top 5 player in this year's finals. I mean, the guy's he's an all-star. He absolutely is an all-star. There's no question about it. And I don't know what the Warriors are going to do. I don't know how they're going to keep him. But my game prediction is Golden State takes game 1. Boston takes game 2. Boston takes game 3. Golden State takes game 4. Boston takes game 5. Golden State takes game 6 because Clay has a game 6 Clay game. And then Golden State takes game 7 as well. I said it from the beginning. It kills me. I don't want to be wrong, but I want Boston to win. I truly do. Like, I love Jason Tatum. I love Peyton Pritchard more. Like, I absolutely love that little kid.
Mm-hmm.
But from the beginning, and I'm terrible in the Eastern Conference because I picked the Nets, but
so
to be in the finals. But from the beginning with Wes, I picked Golden State to win it all. And I can't stop now that they're there. Like, I picked them. They were the 3 seed. Everybody thought they were going to be finished for the most part. And I had them winning it all from the beginning, and I got to have them winning it still now.
For the
record, I want
record,
Boston to win. I'd rather be wrong and Boston win.
For the record, I actually picked Milwaukee to get out of the East, not Brooklyn. I had Brooklyn defeating Boston. I had Boston going out in the first round, but I had Milwaukee. And here's the thing. Who knows? I think the good thing about this finals is, unlike the last couple playoff series, is there's really been no injuries. I think for the most part, most of these teams are really coming in healthy.
Celtics had some injuries last series.
I think the big thing
last
for the
series,
Celtics is if Robert Williams stays healthy.
Yeah, but I'm saying for the most part, for this series to start, they're starting off for the most part healthy. So
if Robert Williams is it can come in healthy. I mean, he's I think that he's really a big piece of the Celtics team. So if he comes in healthy, he could, that's a little bit of a game changer.
My biggest question for Boston is, we know about Tatum, we know about Brown, but who is going to be their third consistent scorer? I think Golden State, obviously we know it's Curry, it's Clay, it's Poole, and Wiggins some nights can go off. For Boston, some nights Marcus Smart is really good. And if Marcus Smart gives you 15 to 20 points, Boston is really hard to beat. But some nights, like in game 7 down the stretch, if Smart misses a couple shots, it gives you an opportunity. And I think Golden State's offense is just so lethal that if Boston goes into a few try stretches like they did against Miami, Golden State can turn it around, couple threes, boom, boom, and the game is over just like that. But I do think Boston will have an advantage, I think, in the first 2 games here because they are, I think, a little bit off rest. Maybe Golden State with 6 days off of rest, maybe they do come off a little bit rusty. I think Boston is going to have to come out and fight. And I do think that Boston have a really good chance to at least make this a series. They have to at least play well in these first 2 games and quite possibly steal a game because I don't know if you can go. I know, obviously, you can lose 2 games in Golden State. But if they're both messy games, if Golden State has the upper hand, I don't know necessarily if Boston can come back and win 4 out of 5 against this team.
For me, this is such a unique matchup because, Tatum is a star. Curry is a generational talent, one of the greatest shooter. I'm sorry, not one of the greatest shooter of all time. Has changed, in my opinion, has changed the game of basketball moving forward. But you have Curry, you have Tatum, you have Klay Thompson, you have Jaylen Brown, you have Draymond, you have Horford, you have Wiggins, you have Marcus Smart, you know Robert Williams, Kevin Looney, Jordan Poole, Grant Williams. Like it's just like they both have such good players, whether they've been in the league for a while, whether they're young, and this is just a really good matchup. And it might come down just to, is Curry gonna just knock down threes like crazy, or is Boston's defense going to be able to keep him in check a little bit? And I mean, that's why this could be one of the best series that we've seen since the Cavs Warriors 7 games where the Cavs won the championship, might I add. But I'm really hoping that this is one of those types of series where it's just constantly back and forth, and not these blowout games that you don't want to watch anymore. But I would 7 games down to the wire, just smash mouth basketball. That's what I'm hoping for, and I think that we might be able to get it with this finals.
Yeah, I agree. I think I also think part of it is, like Golden State knows they're good. Like they know they're legit. They've been there before. Clay, Dre, Steph, like they've all been around the ringer a few times. That they've won it or they haven't been there. They've been in almost every playoffs except, since they started this finals run since last year or 2 years ago, I guess. But yeah, last year when they took Wiseman with that pick. But, point being, I think it's one of those. I think you're gonna get that nitty gritty game because you got, you got Curry, all of them who've been there before, who might be a little cocky in a way. But then you also on the back end, you have Boston, who's just gonna be dog fighting the whole entire time and just grinding and clawing and scratching, and that's just gonna be. I feel like it's gonna be a physical game, and I think for Boston to win, I don't know if it's so much up to Marcus Smart. I think it's more up to two other guys, and they're big guys. I mean, obviously Tatum and Brown have to do their thing. Like that's without a question. But I think it's up, can Robert Williams come out and, can he give them, 10 points a game and, 11 rebounds, 12 rebounds, and just be physical and control Draymond throughout the series. And at the same time, when Grant Williams comes in the game, he's got to be able to knock down threes. And there can't be a question about that. He has to be the guy to come off the bench and be able to do that. And alongside that, when Smart and Brown and Tatum are out the game, if all three of them are out at once, you got to be able to put the load in Peyton Pritchard's hands to where he can control the pace of the game because, Peyton Pritchard's not a superstar. I love him. He's not a superstar, though. Jordan Poole's a superstar. Jordan Poole can come into the game and facilitate the game himself. He can run the whole entire offense by himself and be Steph Curry and Clay, kind of all together himself. They can sit both Steph and Clay. They have the privilege to do that already, and we know that. Boston doesn't have the privilege yet to sit Tatum and Brown at the same time. And I think that's going to be the biggest difference maker is the fatigue, playing, Boston's played in some dog series up to this point, against Milwaukee. They played against Miami hard. That now they're going to go into this one against Golden State, and I think the fatigue might start setting in, and you hit game 6, game 7, and I that's why Golden State wins the last 2 of the series.
The one real quick player that I'm actually a fan of, Kevin Looney. I don't think he gets enough credit from Golden State either. I mean, he comes in. There's games when he comes in and somehow puts up 20 and 10 and that on that team that's loaded already. So I 100% understand what you're saying, but Boston's going to have their A game. My head is telling me Golden State, but I'm going with my heart here and saying Boston. I just like the way that the team's put together. I like the young pieces they have. I mean, even their stars are still young pieces. So I don't know. I'm just something sure. about it. Something about it's just telling me Celtics. But we'll be talking more about it next week, Brandon. Joe, it was a pleasure having you on. If you guys have not checked out the Mic Drop podcast, that is Joe's podcast here at Believeland Media with his co-host Joe. It's
Wes.
Oh no, I know Wes. Yeah, I know. I know Wes. I was about to, but you interrupted me, right? I was about to say it was a pleasure having you on. Now it's not so much a pleasure. Always a pleasure talking to you, Joe, and hopefully you'll come back and talk more. I'm sure we'll actually have you back on talking more draft before the draft happens. Me and you have some articles coming out. We got our own project going on, but it's good having you on ATC. Brandon, my little brother, my first true partner in crime. I think you know what to do.
It's time to let it roll. We'll see you guys next week.